Let me know. Would you join me in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for being here. Yes, likewise. Janet is here this morning with, I'm sorry.
Marissa Batka.
Yeah, to address an issue on the agenda, and I can't find it, on
Public comment.
It's
public comment first. I'm sorry. Pardon me. Thank you, Carl. Do we have any public comment this morning, please? I'd like to remind you, we ask that you keep your public comment to 5 minutes and that you at least identify yourself. Okay, hearing none. Janet is here to address the sanitation.
Private sewage disposal ordinance.
Yes, and I had it here and I can't. So, Janet,
Yep, I don't.
you don't want to? Come on, Janet.
I'm gonna give the floor to Marissa anyway. Marissa is our licensed environmental health practitioner. That is a national exam that she passed, and the state of Illinois is specifically called an LEHP. We do need to make small changes to our existing ordinance. This ordinance has already been approved by the state of Illinois, by IDPH, as well as the Edgar County Board of Health, and now we are at the county board approval state. But I want to let Marissa kind of explain just the minor changes that we're looking at.
Didn't she pass that the first time too?
She did, first try.
Which is just unbelievable.
Unheard of, yes.
Marissa?
Yes, so our old ordinance is from 2007, so it's about 13 years old. So basically I just went through, and like Janet said, the state of Illinois has already given this a look and given us the okay on it. Very small changes in it, basically a couple definitions, and then we're just requesting that when they give us the private sewage application, that they put all of the information showing what kind of system, where the water lines are located at, where the property lines are, basically giving us all that information up front so that if we need to go out and do like a pre-site investigation, we know what we're looking at by the drawings that they provide with us. So it's just making sure that it's a little bit more detailed so we know more than just the box on the piece of paper, what they're wanting to do. And then the other change is providing us with a soil investigation. So there are licensed soil classifiers that are around the area that go and they do 3 different borings, and they classify what types of soil that is. So having them give us a copy of that so that we can look through the soils to figure out what kind of system would be good for each individual property. So whether that would be a subsurface or surface discharge, but we need to be able to see the soil evaluation first before we can determine what kind of system needs to go into the ground. So, and then the only other change on this is that we, as the health authority, will act upon all applications within 14 days of receipt thereof. This would be I wouldn't say it would happen very often. Maybe if I'm on vacation, that gives me a couple, if I'm out of town for a week, when I get back, I can approve that application. Right now, the way that it's written is that they can give us an application and 48 hours later they can put the system in. So me being the only sanitarian there at the health department, this just gives me a little bit more time, like I said, just in extreme situations where I'm out of the office for a period of time. But we work really hard with them to, we understand their schedules are busy too, so we work really hard to put the systems in kind of on their time as much as we can.
So we would do the best we could to get it within just a couple of days, but this is just our backup with Marissa being the only one. If she is on vacation, rather than have repercussions of people being very angry with us, if we put it in writing, it just gives us that.
You work with any other counties? Like, is there anybody that can, like, if you were gone for 2 weeks or a week, and have somebody else come in?
Yeah, I personally don't like 14 days. I think that's too much.
Well, like I said, that is the maximum that it would ever be if she were on a 2-week vacation. If it were necessary for us to call another LEHPN, we could do that.
Okay.
We, as health departments, we work together, we support each other and help each other out. Yes, we could bring someone in if it was necessary.
Can we word it in such a way that we will endeavor to try to, you haven't pointed these out in here, so I haven't seen, I don't know where it is, because the changes are not highlighted.
Oh, okay. And we can do that, we can send you that information.
I mean, and I may be the only one,
I'm
I
on
just
page
know that.
4, if that helps. Page 4, 2.5.
.5.
It's on page 5 on ours.
Yeah, it's page 5 on ours. I just think there's circumstances in construction that's not reasonable, okay?
Well, and that's why I say we can
But
rely
it
on other
doesn't
people.
give you a directive to say that you will endeavor to do that.
And I will say that I thought that we had made that change, so I thought that we had already done that. Dan, do you remember, didn't I send you something where we reworded that? To say, to send that out to all the board, that we had reworded that to say,
I don't remember those.
okay.
Did
I
we,
do remember the conversation though, because I remember the same thing
do
from,
the businesses that do this type of work have a copy of this also?
Well, they don't yet.
Okay.
They just have the old one
Fantastic.
right now, yeah, nothing's
I
gone
don't
out,
remember
nothing's
So
been
there was no
finalized.
hearing or, asking them how, if they could live with this?
It is very difficult for us
I
to
know.
do that,
I know.
because, obviously what's gonna work best for them is probably not going to work best for us. We, like I say, we make every absolute effort to get these systems in, and even, Marissa's even gone out as much as 24 hours because it was just an urgent situation.
Oh, I understand, but I can see that this would be, without the wording
Let-
there,
Let us go back, because, like I said, I really thought that I had put it in writing that we would make every effort to do it,
or involve
know.
another county if we could.
yeah.
So the other issue I see here is, besides just this particular line item, is it sounds like you're changing fundamentally how the process works. And you may come back when they give you all this additional information and say, hey, this particular septic system is appropriate. Is that a mandate? Is that a request? How does that work? Because that would further slow down a construction
So like
project.
this, with the soil evals, would that be our recommendation, or,
the soil evaluations are required on the subsurface systems as it sits right now. So they're
By the state?
used to, yes, by the state. So they're used to having that submitted to us anyway. What this is requesting is just having that for each individual system. So even if they're gonna do a surface discharge, we just are requesting them at least do a soil evaluation first to figure out what type of system you wanna do before we just jump straight to surface discharge. Just because we've seen a lot of surface discharge systems, which is just discharging all of that water into the ground. And so if we don't have to do that, then obviously as our side, as the health department,
Track
we
it,
would
sure.
rather not.
So how would that work? So if the soil samples came back and said the surface discharge is inappropriate, however, that's the plan, then we send them a cease and desist? How does that, what actually happens? What's the process?
Well, it would, we talk with the contractors as for what the plan is. Like right now, we've got a system where I've been to the site and he's been to the site, and we're both trying to figure out what system is gonna work for that specific location. So it really, it just depends. If the contractor's really wanting to do a surface discharge, even though the soils say that they're likely to do a subsurface, it's not, the soil evaluation isn't gonna tell them what system they can or cannot do. Does that answer your question?
and neither are we.
Yeah, I'm not gonna,
Okay.
I'm licensed in the field that I work in, but so are they. They're licensed and they're, they've got their sewage disposal license, and they know what type of system is gonna work as well. So I'll work with them to figure out which one would work best for them. So it's not telling them what they can or can't do necessarily, it's just letting us take a look at what those soils are to determine what would be best.
One problem in our county is we have a contractor that does not like to work with the health department, so it causes a lot of problems. They want it done their way, regardless of what our rules or our procedures say, and that's where the problem exists. Agreed?
Well, my question would be is, are they still, even though they want it done their way, are they still maintaining code with the state of Illinois? Are we making more laws than the state of
No, no.
Illinois?
No, no.
Okay.
The state
Then
wouldn't let
that's-
us do that.
That's fine, I just,
Right.
because that's the first thing, they're making us think. Okay, well, then that's,
But I will go back and look at the way that I thought that we had changed the wording, and maybe I dreamed that, but,
well,
you
we
know,
do
I-
have health authority will make every effort to respond to applications as quickly as they can in the one we have.
Okay, that's the wording I was,
But
that was the wording I was
I'd
looking
like
for.
to, I mean, and you do say minimum of 2 days, but there may be instances where things are beyond our control, okay?
Yep.
All right.
So are
I-
you wanting me to add, are you wanting us to add something in there along the lines of, the only thing is, if we put something in the ordinance that says that we will look, if we are not available, and it's an immediate need, we can go outside our county and look for someone else. If we do that, it leaves us open for that to be the case a lot of times, just because it's inconvenient for someone.
Yeah, I don't know what the answer is there. What do you guys think? Is that sufficient to weigh on page 5, 2.5? Is that for you?
I see your point, but I think this is sufficient because,
That's fine.
yeah,
And
I mean,
also, the contractors that we work with here in the county, they are aware that Marissa, we go out of our way and bend over backwards to get there as soon as we can. But, sometimes they mess up, they didn't get to the job soon enough.
yeah, because
and-
the only time I see it being an issue is when you have an emergency and a system blows up
Yeah,
and
then,
somebody's trying to get something in.
yes,
And when that happens,
we
I
are
mean,
going
all you
outside
can
the
do is
county.
trust that everybody's doing their best to scramble around and get it done quick.
Yes, and
It's-
we could do that, we could call someone else.
And I think my issue is not so much, you have to have, this has gotta operate correctly in 5 years or 10 years, no matter who's here.
Yeah.
We have had circumstances where staff wasn't as cooperative, we felt, as what they could be. And that's not the case now, but we have,
But
yes.
right, but, I mean, it does still say that we will make every effort to get there as soon as
Okay.
possible.
Other questions?
Do you have trouble with anybody now? I don't know, I don't want any names. Well, occasionally.
It's kind of an ongoing, never-ending thing.
Okay.
But, we'll have good times and we'll have bad
I
times.
can't imagine who that is.
I know.
I've
got so many.
Those that don't see them at the stores or post office, I'm all right.
Or the coffee table.
Coffee, no, he doesn't, yeah, he does,
Yeah.
his dad comes for coffee.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Marissa, for the job you did.
Then, do you want us to come then to the county board
Do
meeting?
we need him there? I don't think you do.
No? Okay.
Well, we'd like to see you at county board
Okay,
meeting.
I didn't know whether Marissa.
Yeah,
Nice try, Janet.
She's
Yeah,
pretty
right.
busy.
Yeah,
She is pretty busy.
Don't forget it's on Thursday.
Right,
Okay.
got it.
One
All
guy
right.
forgot.
Well, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm old.
as old as I am.
All right.
What's on Thursday?
County board meeting.
Board meeting,
Okay.
there's another one.
I know.
Yeah,
He calls me up and
I called him up.
it's like quiz. He
Yeah.
goes, so when's our meeting? And I go, oh, Wednesday morning,
Yeah,
9
he said
o'clock.
Wednesday. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's see, have we got, would you folks like to talk about the ambulance? So if you wanted to, everybody's certainly welcome to stay, but if you would like to highlight anything on that?
Nope, you have your report in front of you. It was a typical month, nothing out of the ordinary. Have any questions? State will be in to inspect on February 24th. That's our tentative date for the 4th ambulance to be in service as well.
And they're doing that at the same time they have to do their annual inspection on the other three.
Correct.
That's what I thought I remembered from last
The
time.
other 3 and the chase truck as
Oh,
well.
okay.
So we'll be all up to snuff.
And I assume
Have an expert.
nothing really changed, or we didn't have to change anything as far as Crispin's status, or that's all in place as far as that goes? Meaning they've lost their mid-level,
Correct.
and so, I don't know if there was anything you guys had to do on your end to.
They've just, we've had some increased
Yeah,
intercepts.
well, I foresee us doing more and more intercepts with them, so that volume will pick up.
So us lay people, does that mean like being
So-
at the airport
Yep.
road?
They will get on scene, they'll determine, okay, we need a higher level of care, so they're gonna start, either they'll start us whenever they get dispatched, or they'll start us when they get on scene, but either way, we'll head that direction and meet them either on scene or somewhere in the middle.
And that's only for patients that are coming towards Paris. They have intercept agreements with Villa Grove, Georgetown, for people that are going elsewhere.
I mean, in my head movie is Adam's like swinging from one truck to grab onto the moving ambulance, you know.
Please don't, no.
That's exactly how it works, I mean, you got it.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Anyway,
Thank you for that.
you're welcome.
I noticed on this,
Uh-huh.
you got January and December times, but none of these others are there.
Right, so you've had, in your previous reports, you've had June 2019 through December
Okay, I got
2019.
it, I got it.
I
I know,
left
what I
December up
remember, go ahead.
I left December up there,
Okay,
2019, so
yeah,
you can
I got
compare
it.
month to month.
I noticed last month, and I can't remember in particular, but some of the times were increasing, kind of a
Back-in-service
steady
time?
increase.
The back-end service
Was
time.
that, and I think there was something else, but I'm not sure, but I just noticed that times were increasing.
It was the back-end service time was the one that went up drastically. And so that's once they drop the patient off at the hospital
Right.
and they give their report, get their signatures, get their rig cleaned and
Right.
back and ready to go. Our goal is less than 15 minutes. So,
I will say, some of the things that increase that time, if we take patients to Union, well, that drop-off time is one
Right.
thing, then we're driving clear back to Paris to go back in service, so that's gonna be extended time, whereas if we drop off at Paris, we're gonna be back in service within 10 minutes, so
Right,
some of those kind of outliers factor into that.
okay.
and it will increase in the winter time as well. When they do a direct transport to Carl, I did one the other night. We waited in the ED for 35 minutes before somebody would take the patient. When it's
Mhm.
flu season and it's like this, there's no beds, we're just stuck holding our patient until they can get them in a room. And that happens frequently at the larger facilities. So, some of those things that's our goal is under 15 minutes, but some things are out of our control.
Mhm.
Other questions?
I know that recently up in Brockton, there was that wreck where helicopters were called. Were you guys involved in that?
I was,
Were you?
I was actually, just finished up helping Chris on another call, heading back to town when that one came out, so hopefully already in the area.
And I assume Oakland was there too?
Say, the chase truck was there, Oakland had their ambulance there, Crispin had units 1 and 2 there, and we also had a unit there, so there were plenty of resources on scene, plus we ended up flying both those patients out anyway.
What? Where did they come from, the helicopters?
Area Vac 145 out of Mattoon, and Air Life 1 out of Champaign.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds like that was a busy day,
Was it
Very.
a
or
busy day?
all in a short period of time. But we had enough ambulances and whatever to take care of everything.
Absolutely, we had 2 crews down on a rollover down in Oliver. I was up in Crispin with one of my other crews helping on the cardiac arrest. Everybody cleared off from that. And I went on that rollover, so we always had ambulance in service and ready to roll.
Good.
Thank you.
And you didn't have to call Marshall or outside the county?
So
We had enough inside the county.
Absolutely. We always had at least one available for 911 at all times.
Good.
And obviously the other two were always dedicated somewhere else, but 3 are in service 24/7.
Okay.
You have anything to add there? Sam, do you have anything else there?
No, unless somebody has any questions.
Well, Andy,
There's a lot going on.
well, that's a very, very good report.
So that's it. No, we got the boy, as far as I know, until I got all these emails yesterday that said it was 49 degrees, but,
And this morning,
and this morning, thanks.
thank you.
It was cold this morning. Well,
Need to borrow my coat?
And it has to do with the water conditioner
Yes.
and the automatic.
what we need to do, we need to put a programmable thermostat on there and have it shut down like a couple hours in the middle of the night, that's what we're gonna
Right.
do. And then have the generator regenerate, or the water softener regenerate during that period.
Right.
That way you don't have to worry about the brine water getting pumped into the boiler system, so, boiler
So
system.
the water softener is a new piece of equipment?
No,
or
it's
not?
old, it's been doing that, no one really,
That was part of the problem.
well, no.
It didn't help.
It didn't help. So, what we're gonna put a,
So it smells of the sea everywhere in the building? It's lovely, it's a nice touch.
it'd be a saltwater brine. You'd have a lot of salt in the system, and you don't want that in there. I don't know why it just came up now, I mean, but it did, so.
And who's
that's
our
what-
other contractor? I can't.
Sycamore?
Sycamore said we do not want the regeneration going on when or the boiler operating when the regeneration is going on, period. So,
Regeneration.
Water softener regenerates. What, you familiar with how water softener works? You put,
Cathodes and anodes and.
you put salt in the tank, and then what it does is it flushes, and it's a positive, negative,
Sure.
and so it flushes through and gets rid of all the, like, the negative ions and leaves the positive
Right.
ones, and that's what the impurities in the water, like the iron and the
Sure.
calcium and stuff, are charged, and they stick to it, and it flushes it out.
Am I just stupid to think that those would be separate lines? Like, so if you're running water out of the system, I don't ever recall growing up with a water softener that you catch it at a bad time, you get a mouthful of salt water and iron.
well, see,
Like,
but this
usually,
of all the
is
dumbass
directly
things, like-
for the boiler,
Okay,
okay?
so,
We
It
usually,
gets-
you don't get anything, right?
right,
I mean, you turn on the water, and it's like, well, it's regenerating now, so I gotta wait
Okay.
15 minutes.
sure.
At least that's always the way I remember it being.
I realize this is probably not cutting edge, state of the art equipment we're working with, but
Right.
just, that seems strange to me.
I got
Okay,
my place, I got a double head system,
nice.
so when one regenerates, the other works. So you never are without water, but it's pretty expensive, so I don't expect.
Anyway, in the middle of the night,
If we put the,
the
yeah,
furnace, or the boiler goes off, the water softener goes on. It goes off 2 hours later, and about 15 minutes later, the boiler goes back on,
right.
okay?
So you're able to program the water softener as well,
Right.
so multiple points
Yes,
of failure.
you
don't go
you
wrong.
program that water softener, it'll run for like 2 or 3 days, but then you tell it what time of the day you want it to regenerate. So it won't regenerate until 3 at night,
Perfect.
or in the morning, whichever, yeah.
And we got it wired right, so the safeties now work and all those
Safety's
things
working.
supposedly.
Yes.
Cool.
Just like my house, and every time the power goes out, it changes the clock
It
on the
does.
generator for
That's
the
what you
water
gotta watch
softener.
for.
Well, we need to make sure that Harley or whoever or Sycamore is gonna make that happen.
Right.
Because right now, it's flu season, people come in and work for a few hours in the cold, or waiting for their other sources of heat to come on. It's just not a good thing.
Right. And we need to get the thermostat in.
Right.
ASAP. So
Yes.
I didn't realize that someone shut it off over the weekend, but anyway, I don't know that that was the plan, but.
Well, that's-
We've also got a chemical company that is going to come in and put in treat the water that goes into the boiler. We've never had that done before, and we should have. That's a steam system. A steam system, you add water to it quite a bit, to the tune of 100, maybe 100 some gallons a day when it's really really working. A hot water system is a closed system that you don't add water to. But this one you do, so that being the case, you need to treat that water so that the insides of the pipes don't get full of crap, which they have. And that was part of the problem. I don't know, this summer when they replaced 2 sections of that boiler, had a hole in it. That crud, calcium, iron stuff collects in the bottom of it, and it rusted it out a little bit.
So that's the line that was in the floor you're talking about?
No, that's a whole other deal. But I will get into that one, but we're gonna have the water treated so that, it doesn't, you don't have pieces of, junk that collect in the bottom. Between the water softener and the correct kind of pH treatment of the water, you'll keep from having problems with it later.
So, water treatment, that's a system? That's a
It's a
piece of
system,
equipment?
yeah.
And then we still need to fix that line, right?
We still need to fix the line. There's one line that goes under the floor. Yeah, what they're gonna do is, right now,
Not put it under the floor?
not put it under the floor.
Brilliant.
They're gonna put a little sump, like a little sump pump here, pump it up and over. That way the water doesn't just sit in this line under the floor. It actually comes over.
Tell you what, learning's occurring. Sweet. Okay.
It's not gonna be cheap, but you're not gonna have that, you're not gonna have that
What are you
line.
gonna do if you don't?
Did you
I
say?
saw that.
All right.
I'm not
No, we're
sure what
doing
we're gonna do
anything.
about that yet.
Well,
And
I think
did
they should
respond.
know.
Okay.
I mean, we gotta,
And my question is, which one was that?
right, which one, we got a bill for a little over 14 grand so far for work, okay? Now,
Are that gonna be covered by insurance?
that's exactly,
Right. It's gonna either be his or ours, one of them. I
I know
told,
my vote.
I know mine too, so.
well, and we don't know whether that includes both days, one day, which day,
Right.
it's because we had 2 incidents, okay? Might as
Both
well be
could
up.
probably be drawn back to the same.
Yes,
Yes, I think so too. so.
Yeah.
but you need to know.
Right.
And, so we'll, obviously, we're not sending the bill through and say, go ahead and pay that,
Right.
okay?
I immediately, when Augie sent that, I said, just don't pay it, we're gonna discuss this and figure out some insurance. And I talked to our insurance initially, I said, don't make a claim on this because I don't think it was any fault of ours. Harvey admitted that he was wrong, I just don't know to what extent he's gonna accept that he was
And
wrong.
remember that he turned it in to his company before we ever asked him to.
Right.
I mean, in fact, we were getting calls and we were a little concerned why we were getting another insurance company calling, and then finally we figured out
That he
it was
turned it
because
in.
Harvey had,
Good.
okay?
Had it on his insurance, so.
Yes. So we'll have to see where we all wind up,
Sure.
but you need to know that.
I have a feeling the 2 insurance companies will be talking to each other without,
I prefer to leave ours out if at all possible. Just
Yes.
Don't need
a
another
claim's
incident.
a claim's a claim,
Yeah.
whether they pay on it or not. So, anyway, I'm gonna try to leave it out if at all possible. Smartwatt's been moving right along. I don't know if anybody's been in Angie's
Lighting is-
office, lighting is like, it's like, I feel like you can get a tan in there, right?
Sweet.
Augie does look healthier today, thank you. That's nice.
That's the only thing
That was-
keeping that place warm is the lights.
That was a bright idea to get that fixed.
Ooh.
So,
What's the, any updates on the jail?
well, I got these out, I started looking.
Bound
And this is
volumes.
fun to read, try reading that. I had
Well, first of
magnifying
all, there's
glass
not
and-
enough light, but
Yeah,
it's
we
not
got
big
Angie's
enough.
office.
I know,
I
but
have to get my magnifying glass.
the best I can make out.
Here, take a gander. Jesus. First of all, it's upside down.
See, I didn't even know
Well, I
that.
was sitting there in the light of the sun and I had a magnifying glass and anyway, the good news is, I don't think they took the the old part of the jail out of the bid.
Oh, okay, good.
So when he sent back and said 30,000, I called him up and I said, looks to me like it's all still in here. And he, well, I said, well, yeah. I said, I've checked everything, and I got out that and went line for line for that and the amount of fixtures, and it's all still in there.
Good.
So,
They're gonna try to do some work in the old jail. get it up.
Yeah.
They changed the quote.
they took the upstairs off.
Okay. So everything we need is already there.
And there's a couple things that I don't think they got in their quote originally. But everything else, I mean, and this was the, after they said how did they do that? This is the new, they said excluding the old part. So this is what they did.
Mm-hmm.
And, anyway, the amount of plumbing fixtures is 16, which is 8 in the old part, 8 in the new part. The 16 is what's there.
10 in the new part, 6 in the old part.
Okay, is that what it is? Okay. I
I
knew.
assume there were 6 more upstairs, potentially there's 6. Got it.
So,
So the change was, they took 6 off.
took 6 off,
That'd be
which was just the upstairs.
Right.
And
So,
then
we still
the,
got,
the units that control the flow are not in the head units, right? They're separate?
actually in back.
Okay.
And they've got
Are there
electronic
6 or is
control,
there just 1 per?
on each one.
Okay.
In fact, if you go in there, it's really, have you seen it since it got all the new copper plumbing in there? Copper and brass and the traps and the electronic controls. They ended up, originally they were just supposed to retro the old copper fittings and but they ended up putting, he said, you know what? We're gonna have more time in it than if we put all new copper lines. And so it's all new copper lines back in there. A couple thousand more, he said, but it would have saved what it would have cost labor to try to retro that.
Mm-hmm. So you're talking about in the new part?
In the new
Yeah.
part. And they've got it
Stays
basically
pretty
done. The electricians, Sycamore electricians were gonna come today and hook up that portion of it, so that part would be done. And I've gotta get with, I'm meeting Wednesday morning with Chuck Hernandez with Smart Lock.
So
And
by
figure
the
out.
time all the dust settled, Sycamore's guys were aware that we had all the stuff we need.
He was
for the
asking,
old
he
part.
goes, how come we got all these extra valves? And then I said, I went and talked to him quite a bit.
Cause that was the friction point with Jay, right? He's like, what the hell, like, why don't we have the stuff to do the old part,
Right.
right? It sounds like with very few exceptions, we have everything.
We have everything.
And so.
And the lighting.
Are they,
everything.
is it all Sycamore, both the plumbing and the lighting?
No, the lighting is
There's another company.
K&N or someplace.
KNF.
K&N.
Okay. So are they gonna adjust their timelines to stay at the jail and finish the job in the old
I think
part, or
they-
what's that look like?
I think they went, I was hoping the sheriff would be here, because I wanted to ask him, in the update that Chuck sent out, he said that the lighting at the jail is about 40% done, but I didn't think there was any lighting done at the jail yet. Is there some done?
Yeah, a little bit.
A little, but not 40%.
Well, I haven't
Okay.
been there, you know,
Alright,
I haven't been
I've been
incarcerated
back
for a few days.
dealing with the plumbers mainly.
Stay out of drinks this weekend, that's where.
Yeah. Let's step home.
They said they were gonna pull them off this week, go to the health department, because I think there are a few fixtures that aren't in for the jail. Why, I don't know, but they're not. Well, I talked to the electrician when he was at the courthouse to ask him a couple of questions, and he said, he goes, plumbing fixtures, you can go buy most of that stuff off the shelf somewhere. Somebody's got it. He goes, lighting, they make that all for each project. So there may, he goes, when you order it, then they make it. They don't inventory a lot of that lighting because it's so specialized.
Okay.
So that may be the reason they just haven't got it completed yet. So they're gonna be at the health department and then come back next week and finish, my understanding, finish the lighting at the jail.
So the shortage of equipment there needed is not necessarily a function of change order, it's just
No.
they just didn't have it.
It's a communication
Yeah,
issue.
Not finished yet.
Okay.
And I wish, I don't know, that, I think hopefully if new HVAC system that they're putting in downstairs works as nice as what the guy's putting it in. He's put in a few of these systems, and he said they're extremely efficient.
You
And
still at the gym?
what's that?
Are you still at the gym?
No, I went back to
He
corporate.
switched.
So, but one thing we do have to do is, did First Refrigeration come get a check for a pump for the jail, or do you remember?
They will get that check after the board meeting.
Okay.
They presented it, but we're in that
In that
closed period where,
Limbo period, okay.
yep,
But
and they were fine with that.
okay. Well, yeah, because I said, you know, just have the pump, replace it in the summer. He suggested that it's to put the new pump on, have the old one for backup.
Right.
And I said, okay, well, do you want to do it now, or what? He goes, you can just wait till summer when it shuts the system down, you can do it, and there's no
And then have
interruption.
The old one checked out, and then we've
And
got
then
backup.
I got a backup. We do need to put a water softener probably on the jail system.
I'm an expert with that.
Okay. I don't want to have any trouble with that. So,
No.
I think that's it.
Try to do something.
I know.
Really?
We should do something.
Jeez.
Earn your money.
Andy's been doing nothing but micromanaging.
That's right. I've been reading that damn thing, and I'm gonna tell him I want
Yeah,
I want an updated one, so it's a little bit larger, so I can read it.
Can you borrow my bifocals, Andy?
Get into it and see if it helps.
Never mind.
Dan, how are you feeling?
Surviving. It's been a rough couple, 3 weeks.
We're glad you're here. Glad
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
are finally going better.
The alternative is not well.
So, I was looking for your walker, it didn't say, oh, there it is.
The fence has got 4 prongs on the end.
Nice.
Well,
It's free, yeah, I didn't have to pay for it.
So health department doing okay? Obviously, we really
I
appreciate
remember
Marissa.
talking a little bit about that, but, we have a meeting every 2 months, so tend to forget some of that stuff.
That's
But
fine.
again, it comes down to one company that, or contractor that does all the complaining, so you're not gonna satisfy them, so we do the best we can.
I think we're eminently,
We're better off when we're, but,
well, and I think Marissa has, from what I hear from the streets, has done a really nice job. She holds everybody accountable, but it does it in such a way that it's palatable
Right.
and it produces results, and that's what we want. So, how about the cat situation?
Yeah, well,
We had a-
the bugs tore down my house over on Wood Street, so we scattered the cats around the neighborhood. So it was really nice. I was telling Rob that Casey came by that morning, so they're getting ready to tear the house down. All you wanna do with the cats, well, that's your problem, so.
Late
No.
demolition by day.
But, now we got all set up. I got feeding station for the cats, and we got a dog house for the cats, so.
What
They,
would the county do without you?
I don't know, probably a lot.
I have a Tomcat you can borrow if you wanna get your numbers
No.
up there, since they've
We
been
have
sliding down.
2 Tomcats that come to us, but the lot really looks great over there. I think the neighbor's gonna be happy once they put up the garage, so, no, everything worked out. If you need a cat, I can probably catch one or two.
Okay, in the new, resolutions that we passed on the operation of the department are working okay?
Yeah, we only had, I think I told you, we only had 1 call out last time, so that was only about $35 extra, so. I think she's very conservative on,
Okay.
since we have it in the rules that, a sheriff deputy or police deputy has to go with her, if she has a call out, I think that's gonna, cut down on some of the numbers.
We just wanna make sure it works.
Yeah,
Okay?
as far as I know, it's working. Okay.
Thank you, Dan.
All right.
How's the subdivision doing? Or, I'm sorry,
Drainage.
drainage, yes.
They're not doing worth a damn if you wanna know the truth, but I don't think we have much of a solution.
We still pay for them, all right?
Yeah, we're Brockton, you need to get out to Brockton. At any rate, okay. Do you have anything?
I don't have anything.
Okay, Carl?
I was looking at the bills that we paid, and I noticed that Edgar County 911 got reimbursement for an insurance claim.
Right,
So did,
we got ours. Augie, you wanna speak to that, but basically,
Keep going.
we got a check and
So
we
if we turned the claim in for the all the lightning damage.
right, and they wanted, basically, they got 55% of the check and we kept 45, based on what each agency spent.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
yeah.
Okay, so what was the original check, 22?
Ballpark,
Right,
yes.
and they got 12, we get 10, roughly.
Yeah, I know, here's
Okay,
9,500.
Okay,
So the total claim was 22,000 for
Yes.
lightning.
yeah.
Okay.
So whatever, however that worked out,
Yeah.
we worked out based on what they paid, a percentage, and it wound up to be, what, 55.5 against 44.5. And we just did it that way. And Nan was fine with that,
Okay.
okay? I believe, I mean, she said she was fine with that to me, so.
Okay. I just hadn't heard, because I knew we turned it in, but I hadn't heard what the
Sorry,
outcome
I
of it was.
wasn't trying to hide that from you, Carl.
Okay. That's all I had.
Derek?
I don't know if we talked last month about, we're still waiting on, the state to give approval for our project.
That's correct.
So,
The
we're hopeful.
justifications.
Justifications are in, we're just waiting on their word on that. Barry sent an email this morning, yesterday, Friday,
Friday, Saturday.
about a update the status of our services out at the airport. Yet to see if that will affect our programming into the next year. Expect that probably the next 3 or 4 year plan will have a resurfacing of our runway, our primary runway. So that's all I got.
Okay. Did
One
you,
one other thing.
please?
One day last week, I don't remember what day it was, I went to a special meeting at the Housing Authority. And they hired a new executive director.
Right.
And
Did the rest of that meeting go okay?
that was the only thing that was discussed, because it was a special meeting just to hire the executive director, and that was all that was discussed.
Has that been announced yet?
It was at an open meeting. Scott Barrett was who they hired.
Okay.
Yeah, I was told it was public knowledge, so.
Okay,
Yeah.
I figured it was, but I
Right.
thought I'd let Carl know.
What's the salary, do we have an option?
They just discussed that, it was 59,000.
And he plans on continuing as coroner for, I'm not sure if I think he's up for re-election this term, isn't he?
Yes,
Yes, he is. Yes, he is,
So
John.
he can do both, he can do both?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, Tom.
He does.
Those don't conflict now. I don't think he could do some other things, but that one doesn't conflict.
I'll work with him at the funeral home, he's an excellent
Yeah, I think,
person.
I think. I was pleased when I heard it. I mean,
Yeah,
now,
me too.
I don't know who else applied, but I was pleased.
Right.
Okay. Before you this morning, in our intent, as we told you about a month or so ago, was to get an amendment or amendments to the current amended version of our wind farm ordinance. You do have that in front of you. The first page is, you ignore because that's the cover page that when we do try to pass it, that we'll have to have a new resolution. But basically it goes through, hope you can read it. The red
I
shows
don't have one.
either what was added or what was subtracted and added. The black is what the old ordinance said. So if you get a chance to look at that, we're hoping for other comments. We didn't want to rush. We do not have to have any waiting period since all it is being amended. But I gave Kirk, you have already some comments about it, to make sure we're not closed-minded. If we haven't taken something into account, so be it, we'll deal with it, or not, or have a reason for it. So, we'll make sure that everybody is aware.
Were you gonna do that through a hearing, or were you just gonna do it through regular meetings?
We were gonna do it through a regular meeting, we are not required to have a
Right.
hearing.
That's why I was asking you.
But,
You're not looking to adopt that Thursday, are you?
Oh, no, it's gonna be a month. we thought we'd have a couple study sessions and make sure that we have it on our website and so forth so that people can see it and they can comment. We also understand there's a wind farm meeting at the Farm Bureau on tomorrow night. I'm not sure of the time. I talked to Gary, he had no announcement about it yet, so, but I do know there is one. Right, KB? I mean, as far as,
I've just seen the announcement on the door when I go in the building.
I'm gonna have to slide by there and see what time that is, or call them. So,
Maybe a stupid question, what's the difference between the black and red?
okay, the black is the original, red is the changes.
Okay, all right.
Either by eliminating, you'll see lines through it, like down there on the first page 2, you'll see where we changed it as a professional engineer in any state of the United States is being changed to Illinois.
Okay, I see.
Okay, just very simple, but we thought it would be important to show you what the changes are and where they're at.
So where did you derive these from?
We, meaning Aaron, contacted area wind farms all over. We contacted a couple of wind farm businesses, and we got feedback from them. But primarily, we relied on information that we got from Kirk, from Douglas County, some of the other counties, Iroquois.
It was Douglas, Iroquois, and Ford.
So updated, like fairly recently updated new statutes.
Iroquois, most agencies say they're the gold standard because they've got a good zoning program, and that's like the top of all of them, and Douglas is probably the worst.
Okay.
Douglas has got multiple lawsuits right now with landowners and wind farms back and forth. Even I think 1 or 2 villages are suing
Okay.
because of the things that didn't get addressed that have created problems.
One of the things, on a personal note, that I had a problem even before this was the deactivation of these sites. And basically, in the past, the old ordinance didn't have probably any teeth in order to resolve that question. Please note that there's an escrow account with cash in it that's under the control of attorneys or a bank on behalf of the county to maintain each windmill. And therefore, guaranteeing in 20 years, when we're all not even involved, that somebody's son isn't going, what the heck is this mess? I've got this now. So we've tried to plan ahead for that. And
So
of
that's
course,
addressed in here.
it is addressed in there very heavily. Remember, Carl, when we amended it, I think it was almost the first month we got on board, and there just wasn't enough said about deactivation.
So where did you get that at?
We got that out of other policies.
Now, the one thing, and I haven't looked at this one, Jeff, but the escrow account, one of the lawyers recommended for theirs that I don't recall Iroquois had was what you can do with the interest. It's an escrow, but it never designated, could it be interest bearing, and if it was, who got that money?
Well, I
And
think,
they recommended the county should have that money, because as time goes on, it's gonna cost more and more to do that decommissioning, and that was their thinking, but I don't remember if there
I
was any
think
language
we've
in
set
that.
it up so that, for example, if it's $50,000 per site, that keeps growing over the years. Because who knows what that's gonna cost in 20 or 25 years.
What's the 50,000 for, to clean it up if it, okay.
And then it defines what means an abandonment, the
Yeah.
deactivation. If they
Right.
don't operate it over a set period of time, then that's considered deactivated. And then,
The only other thing I don't recall, and again, I haven't read what you guys have updated, but Vermillion ran into an issue, and I forget the number of farmers that were hit with property tax liens because the wind farm did not pay their property tax. And some of them couldn't sell their ground because it was tied up in a tax dispute because of the lien. I don't remember if there was
I
any
can't
language in that or
remember
not.
that issue, but
There were upwards of 300 landowners or parcels of property that were impacted with that in Vermillion County.
Does the county get a stipend for?
yeah,
wind farm?
in order to apply, you have to put down a grant.
Okay.
But it's not limited,
Because of the turbines.
excuse me, it's not limited to numbers. A lot of them want 2 or 2,500, but that's for the first 15.
Okay.
Ours is just $1,000 a piece, just to apply, and it's non-refundable.
I see.
Then it's $2,000 to actually put them in,
Okay.
okay? And then at that point, then they have to pay you up front. Once everything is approved, we have to set up a committee of 3 along with some other department heads to make sure, like the state's attorney and, what is it?
Public health.
Public health, that are part of the committee. If the committee recommends that we go ahead and approve somebody's application, then it just takes a majority of the board. If they do not submit an approval on it or recommendation, then it takes 5 out of 7 board members to approve it, okay? So, we're trying to cover all the bases, all right?
Can you limit the number of turbines in one particular area?
That has to do with siting, and the committee will deal with siting, and of course, there's regulations on how close they can be to primary residence. Ours says 1,650 feet. There's, right now, it has, in other words, if it's 500 feet tall, it has to be 550 feet from any boundary line or road. We may have to adjust that slightly depending on throw, so we didn't take into account. I don't know whether that's an issue or not, but we're certainly open to listen to any issues. So it's not something that we're trying to get into in a big rush, so we hope you guys will take a look at it. We welcome public comment on it, and yes,
It's not just the blades, it's the ice from the blades.
well, we'll talk
That's what
about
you're-
that later. That's what we, so. Any comments in general about this issue?
I'm not an electrician, but I'm just kind of double checking on page 3, the minimum standards. I don't want to, stop anybody from putting a small turbine at their own house if they're so inclined. 150 feet, I mean, that sounds more than plenty to cover that, but the 50 kilowatts, is that, semi-reasonable for
Well,
the minimum standard?
I'm sorry.
I don't, go ahead, Kirk.
Are you talking a personally owned?
Yeah, just a small,
This wouldn't, this is for the commercial Wex tower. It wouldn't-
I knew that was the goal. I was just making sure that the 50 kilowatts
trying-
wasn't too much of a
Yeah,
hindrance. I assumed it wasn't, but
yeah, like what they've got out here at Ashmore, the John Deere facility, that's their own personal, I don't know how many kilowatt, I don't think it's 50K, but it's, that's their own personal, and that wouldn't come under any type of county ordinance.
See, my new system covers 10K, and it handles about 70% of my needs. So
Okay.
50 would be, I guess, for a farm site. Of course, they would need more energy than probably I would, but
Because that gets down into legal language too, because it's inclusive and, so,
right, yeah, and that's why I was just wanting to make sure that and like I said, I'm not an electrician. I pay my bill and that's it. I just was wanting to make sure that 50 kilowatts not
well, we'll
gonna
have
prohibit that, which it sounds like we're fine.
we'll have at least two more study sessions to try to resolve some of these issues.
You say that company, the company is doing it at Farm Bureau?
I'm not sure of that.
Okay.
I don't.
I mean, are
just
we in
assume.
jeopardy not having something in place if
No.
somebody
No.
wants to come in?
He's talked to everybody. Aaron has talked to the couple people. Nobody's even remotely close.
Okay.
And we don't have an application. We need to think about having the committee set up so they can start working on the application. So if any of you guys are interested, and I know you have plenty of time, Andy, so we're push. But we're gonna have to get 3 of us on a committee,
Night job.
okay?
Yeah, what are you doing tonight?
All right. So, anyway, this will come up several more times, and we'll get the public notified that we're in the process, making sure that it's on our website, and et cetera. Budget-wise, I'd like to tell you that I didn't stop by the treasurer's office, but obviously, I don't want you to think that we're not in difficult positions. Everything that happens to us is exacerbated by the amount of money that we're having to send out of this county housing prisoners while still having to transport them to and from. We're basically in an untenable position right now, given that, we don't, even, how do I put this without getting too dramatic, but, you get a $14,000 bill for the courthouse, and it's, I wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning worried about this stuff every day. And we're trying to spend money wisely so that we can get to the point where we're at least partially housing, or getting us back into shape where we can at least house some of our prisoners. But that doesn't relieve us of the responsibilities of still having 2 staff members per shift, having a jail administrator. We've only got 4 deputies on the road right now. I mean, we do not have the resources to do it all, period. And it's not gonna get any easier. I guess I'm sounding the alarm, but I think we all know that the alarm is ringing, and we're just gonna have to do the best we
Is there
can.
a time frame on getting the new park open so we can house prisoners?
We were hoping in early spring, okay?
They'd
Late
have to
March,
inspect it
first
also,
part.
right? The state have come inspect it.
Well, yeah, and the insurance companies,
Yeah.
and, I mean, we've gotta jump through a lot of hoops. So, we're caught between competing things that we all need to be concerned about as far as needs for the county. And our current budget, the current amount that we get from taxes, land taxes, is not sufficient to maintain the sheriff's department as mandated by state codes and the Department of Corrections. So,
How has it been going with, I know we were trying to work with the judicial system to minimize transport, possible even times, has that been working as,
we haven't gotten an update, what, in the last 2 weeks, Carl? Something we
is
need
it
to
going
get.
as well as we were hoping it would, or?
I think them working with the sheriff and everything has helped lessen the issue.
Okay.
I think they've been doing what they can.
Right, and I mean, that's all we can ask them to do, I knew we were gonna try to do that, and
There is an attitude of cooperation, let's just
Okay.
put it that way.
well, I'm glad to hear that.
Yes, I mean, nobody's going, you guys screwed this up, this is your problem, okay? Also, we were going to, or planning to have a public information study session on the tax referendum on either, and the bank has offered us a facility that's got enough room down there at Prospect,
If we want to use theirs.
if we want to use theirs. And we were thinking about either Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday of next week. I called George Griffin, and he's supposed to let us know what's available. In fact, he may have. I've got my phone on airplane. There's no cost to doing that. We would have to post it as a special meeting and be prepared to talk about the issue and answer any questions that the public has about it, good, bad, or indifferent. So that is the plan. Questions on that? That would be one. We're thinking about having that, another public meeting in the first part of March, either the first or second week. And these are night meetings at 5, and then probably one at 7. Next week, the one would probably be at 7. And that way we could make it possible for more people to attend.
What day of the week?
Well, we asked for, we don't know what the schedule of the meeting room is.
Okay.
I said we could work with Monday, or Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday.
sure they'd be out for me.
I understand,
Sure,
but
yeah.
Okay.
okay.
I think it'd do you good if somebody sit down with Gary and have something go in the paper pretty quick. There's people
There's a
voting
lot
already.
of, there are people voting, and they're getting kind of blindsided because they're not aware of what that is.
The thing we have, and I was gonna talk about this next, that we have discovered is that people, somebody's out there saying that we can use this money for anything.
Yeah, I've heard that.
And
too.
we cannot.
No.
It is for the sheriff's department, staffing, maintenance, and/or dealing with the facilities, meaning up to and including bonding. That's what it can be used for. It is for nothing else.
Public safety.
And it's
Public-
not just a Paris thing. Everybody outside Paris
Edgar
needs to
County.
understand
Yes.
this for Edgar County.
Yes, it's, right.
Then the other issue that we're hearing about is sunsetting. People are talking about sunsetting without understanding that on the long term, if we decided, or if we had to bond, if we sunset something, we can't get any funding.
Nobody,
So, I mean, I know it's real easy. I talked to one guy who talked to somebody and they said, well, why didn't you sunset it? And I said, well, didn't they tell you when they told you that? And he
Right.
goes, no, and I explained it just like I did here. So I'm talking still every day to try to talk to 5 or 10 people out in the county that I don't see on a daily basis. So I'm going to the different restaurants around the county and on my own time, because we can't spend money on this, promoting it, so, at any rate.
I know your, the wife's on Facebook. KB's had some favorable things and done a little bit of research on it. I mean, are you getting any feedback? What you think?
I was concerned that people already started voting and nobody knows what's going on and there's a misunderstanding of what it is and what it can be used for,
Okay,
Right, that's the
who it's
biggest thing.
for.
okay.
So,
I think people need to know that what Jeff said a while ago, we really need it.
I don't,
we're at our wits' end.
all right.
I mean, it's,
Can we say how much money we spend per month on
yeah,
Facebook?
that's public,
I mean,
That's probably,
that's public information.
yeah,
Yeah.
I tell them what we spent last December.
Well, please all, I know we're unfortunately not collective on this, but I don't see where there's a problem with having the public vote on it. I just can't understand why we would have why we're not in favor of not having at least the public have the information and being able to make an intelligent
Oh,
decision.
they definitely need the information. Yeah.
Right. So. And I don't see an advantage to waiting. In fact, our situation will just continue to deteriorate. So that's my opinion. And I've probably taken it too far.
People don't realize-
Because Carl's
Yeah.
about ready to come over here.
No, not at all.
It's not gonna break people up, the 1% tax on what you buy, I mean, hardly notice it.
Well, we still have an obligation to
I
make
know,
sure
I
that we,
realize it too.
and it is a penny. And, so it's $1 on every $100 that somebody buys. And it does not include uncooked, in other words, if you go in and buy at the grocery store and you buy a raw chicken, it does not cover that. If you buy one that's been rotisserie cooked, you're gonna pay it. Okay, well, I'm just,
Yeah, I mean, it gets.
in drugs, it does not cover drugs, and it does not cover anything that you have to title, license, or register as far as equipment or a vehicle, okay? It does not cover those things, so. At any rate, enough of my pontification.
So if you go and eat a raw chicken and you get Pepto-Bismol, neither of those things are taxed or no? because that's
Cut the
not a
business.
prescription.
That's right.
You get E. coli.
If you buy a
consent.
chicken, you deserve what you get anyway.
If you buy, no. At any rate, we've got a little over, a little over 4 weeks from tomorrow.
When do you think you'll hear from George as far as setting that exact meeting time?
He said in a little while.
Okay.
I just didn't wanna turn on my phone and
Sure.
have it interrupt us like it does sometimes, but I hope that that's all right. I don't know of any other way to get
I think
that
we got it.
information out.
Right.
And if we get a good response, we could always have 2 more.
Right.
But I think we should at least have 2. That's my opinion. If you guys have a different opinion, I think we should be all prepared to answer whatever questions, or if we can't answer them, get the answer.
Right.
And we should indicate the consequences if the tax doesn't pass. I mean,
Right.
that's-
We'll let you talk about that. No,
5 weeks and 2.
Can't talk very well anyway.
well,
Yeah, but you can hit them with this.
Oh, yeah.
we're glad you're here, though.
Yeah.
Glad you're feeling better. Are there, did KB leave? Did we lose him?
Yeah.
I've got one.
Yes,
question.
please, go.
Rob, I know here a while back you requested information from the housing authority. Did you get your information?
Yes,
Okay. All right.
appreciate it.
Do we need a closed session in any way, shape, or form? I don't, but I thought I'd ask. Is there anything else to come before the meeting from you guys? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So move.
Okay. Derek moves, Dan seconds. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you.
You on the